The start of the finals on championship bowling. The two top qualifiers from Seattle, Washington, Johnny Guenther. And from Fresno, California, Ed Bourdase. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Championship Bowling. This is Fred Wolf in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, here at the Major League Bowling Lanes. 24 weeks have passed. We've qualified the two finalists. They will go 6 games over the next 2 weeks. From Seattle, Washington, it's Johnny Guenther, who qualified with 13:37 for his 6 games. Ed Bourdase from Fresno, California, with 13:36. 6 games, total pins, $10,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up, and beautiful trophies, too, emblematic of their great performance here on Championship Bowling in Winston-Salem. All competition sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. An additional $10,000 for every 300 score. We'll be ready for the first game in just a moment. Ready to go. First game of 6. Johnny Guenther, who is the top qualifier with 13:37. I believe we said the runner-up gets $500. Let's straighten that out. Move the decimal point over 1. It's $5,000 to the runner-up, $10,000 to the winner. Johnny Guenther, Seattle, Washington. Ready. Throw. He's in. He's there. 2 boys that have stood out in the field of our 24 great stars. Here's Ed Bourdase. He defeated Eddie Lubansky and Lindy Faragelli. They were 1 pin apart. This week, they start from scratch. Bourdase throws, he's in, and he carries. So we're off with 2 strikes. 29 more frames to go this week. It'll be total pinfall for the 6 games. Edward Henry Bourdase had a big year in 1962 on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Born in Oakland, California. A great athlete, semi-pro football player, semi-pro baseball player. Does very well with a bowling ball. There's number 2. Bourdase has put his younger opponent on the spot already. We're in the second frame. Bourdase has 2. Johnny Guenther moves in on the right side. Here was another fine athlete. He was a great ball player. Played semi-pro baseball as an outfielder. Had totals of 683 and 654. He had the high single game of 267. He kicks it out. The boys are off. Off and running with 2 doubles. Guenther shaking his head slightly. He kicked the 8-10 out of there. Guenther had a great match with Andy Marcich a few weeks ago when he qualified finals. He needed 247 the last game to beat Bourdase by 1 pin. He got a spare in the 10th, needed a strike, and he turned it in to 13:37, beating Bourdase by 1. Bourdase hung on to finish in the second position. 1 more, number 3. Johnny Guenther not giving 1 inch. Now Bourdase is on the spot. Guenther has his triple. Bourdase has got to get his on the right side. The side that has given our boys so much trouble here over the past 24 weeks. But here are 2 boys that have mastered this right side. Bourdase going through his maneuvers, getting the ball set to the line, slightly inside, sets it. Brooklyn, he got it! Oh! Well, there's a great break by Ed Bourdase. He knew that was going. He immediately started making motions. Hurry, hurry, get on the Brooklyn side or the Jersey side. And Bourdase Not too interested what they call him. He's from the West Coast. But on that scoreboard, it looks good. 3 in a row. Both boys with 3. We go into the 4th. Eddie throws there, number 4. And there, ladies and gentlemen, the great qualifications to becoming a champion. When you get a lucky strike, take advantage. And, brother, this fella sure did. He buried that one. Now, Guenther back on the spot. Bourdase has his 4th strike. Guenther still has his to get. Washington State's match game champion. There it is. There it is. Number 4. Well, the boys have really been working out for this one this week. They have been bowling hundreds of games here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at the Major League Bowling Lanes. This is the big opportunity for both of these fellas. It's their first appearance on a championship bowling series, and they have qualified for the finals. We're in the 5th. Guenther now with a chance to put Bourdase back on the spot. They both have 4. $10,000 for a 300 score. $10,000 to the winner. Guenther is there. He's in. Number 5. And look at this. Oh, it's fun to keep score when the boys just throw those strikes. Bourdase's first appearance on championship bowling. So Bourdase in the 5th. His opponent, Johnny Guenther, has 5. Look out, look out. Too high, 4-7. Guenther's out in front. Just a little bit. Bourdase seemed to slow that one down a trifle. And that Brooklyn in the 3rd, obviously on his mind. Although the tendency there was to throw it out too far. But Bourdase didn't do that. He still crowded the 4-7 in the 5th, the first bare shot of the match. Be careful. Well, at the end of 5, the first game of the finals on championship bowling from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Johnny Guenther is all the way. The first 5. Bourdase is 108 with a spare. We go into the 6th. Too high again, 7-9. And that ball moved very quickly for Bourdase. From our position here, it would seem that Bourdase in the first 4 frames threw that ball just a little faster. Slowed it down twice. Has been high twice. He deserved a better break on that one. Through the middle to 7-9. Quite unusual to leave a 7-9 on a nose hit. Bourdase open in the 6th is the youngster from Seattle, Washington, who had high single game in the first 24 weeks of qualifying, a 267. He had a 683 series. Bourdase had the high 3 games, an even 700. Will it be 6? Here it comes. He doesn't get there. The 2-4-5-8 the bucket. Well, Guenther didn't miss it by much. Bourdase, who crowded 2. Guenther watched both of them. Had to be giving some thought to being too high and played it too cozy. A tough spare. Johnny moves to the extreme left. Wants that ball to roll right into them. And he's got it. Nice shot. A nice conversion by the youngster from Seattle, Washington, born in Langdon, North Dakota. Moved to Seattle in 1949. He manages a West Coast bowling center. Started in 1951 as a pin boy. 3-finger ball, semi-fingertip. Right back. Now, Guenther has a very tight thumb. Possibly you can hear his thumb pop as he releases the ball. We go into the 7th. Guenther out in front by 21 pins. It's 6 games, total pins, over 2 weeks. Bourdase putting those fingers in first, then stretching to his thumb. Carries the strike in the 7th. That ball seemed to have a little more hop on it than we've seen in the past two frames. Bourdase moves left. They're both on strikes. We go into the eighth. 21 pins. Guenther started with 5. Bourdase with 4. These lanes have been reconditioned, as they have been for every week's match. Brand new AMF tournament grade pins are used. Matched weights. There. 7 out of there. Well, that pin was just touched by the 4, and Bourdase with a double. That could have been a disastrous tap as Guenther moves in on the right, on a strike. Bourdase has been a very fast starter. He started both of his matches with big games, 233 and 243. Guenther's been the slow starter. He's short again, this time the 2-5. So Johnny's been very careful on the right side in the last two frames. The 2-4-5-8 and the 2-5. Guenther started with 214 against Joe Christoph and 189 against Andy Marsich. He has only been under 200 once. That was the first game in his big match. There's the pop of the thumb. He covers. So Bourdase has picked up 10 pins. The margin now just about 10 pins as we go into the ninth frame. Bourdase on the strike. If Bourdase gets his strike in the ninth, this thing will be all even. And that's where it was at the end of 4 frames when both boys started with 4. The start of the finals. Championship bowling from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is Fred Wolf, a capacity crowd. Too high, and he kicked the 4-7-9. The 9 is gone, a break for Guenther. That's the first one he's had in there too high. So Bourdase can pull this one out. Bourdase will finish first. He will complete the game. Guenther will come back to finish the 10th. The 4-7, he covers. So Edward Henry Pop Bottles Bourdase, that's a nickname that the boys hung on him during the PBA Tour in 1962, moves in on the right with a chance for 255. Won his first title in 1952, the California State Singles. He's been a comer ever since. In the ninth, on 2, he dropped it. The 1-2-8. Ed shaking his head. In 1962, a member of the Fresno Bombers in the National Bowling League. Bill Bonetta, his team captain. Bill was trying to top Bourdase last week, but couldn't make it. Finally finished in 6th place with 1273. The 1, the 2, and the 8 covered. Two more of Bourdase's teammates have been in our field. Vern Downing, who did a fine job, coming in with 1229 for his 6 games, and Johnny King. King finished 9th with 1242. We're in the 10th frame. Guenther with 12 pins to work on. 5 games to go. There it is. So Bourdase with a great line over on the left side. Left a 7-9 there in the 6th on a ball that sort of hopped on him, got up there too fast. Chance for 232. Both these boys averaged 223 for their 6 games to make the finals. For 230. There it is. 230 with an open frame for Ed Bourdase from Fresno, California. Looks like a great finish. 2 up-and-coming youngsters as championship bowling continues to present the great stars of tomorrow. You had a chance to see young Ronald Winger from Los Angeles, Dave Sutar from Detroit, Vern Downing from Fresno, Here's a couple of new boys. Bourdase, 29 for 231. And young Johnny Guenther from Seattle, Washington. He needs 2 strikes and 8 pins to win the first game. He's too high. On the nose, breaks it up, nothing but the 6 pin. Guenther actually needs this spare and 9 pins to win the first game. The double would have given him 240. So a great start by both Guenther and Bourdase. 230 games, 8 pins, it'll be tied. 231 apiece. 700 has been the top total by Bourdase in his final 3 games, and they were clutch all the way. Guenther needed a 247 game in his final game to make the finals. That's exactly what he got. 8 pins for 231, and we have a dead heat. Well, we certainly have a couple of gentlemen, and this should give you an idea of what is in store over the next 5 games. This week and again next week in the finals of championship bowling from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. A great exhibition. This is Fred Wolf. Don't go away now, because we're going to be right back here with the second game. Well, we usually say the scores for the first game. I think I'll have to start it this way. The score of the first game, and we'll forget it. It's now a 5-game match. Both boys with 231. How about that? We're ready for the second game, men. Keep it going. Ready for the second game of 3. Championship bowling from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's the start of the finals. A dead heat the first game, both boys with 231. Ed Bourdase, Fresno, California. Johnny Guenther, Seattle, Washington. Here's Bourdase. Ready. Throws. He's there. He's in. He's carried. Bourdase bowling beautifully over on the left side. He did have an open frame there, but it was a bad pitch. The boys work on the right side. They call it the graveyard. Many boys have died here throughout the 24 weeks, but these 2 fellas have shone above the field. Too high, 6 pin. Guenther with a break. That could have been wide open. Johnny Guenther, who defeated Joe Kristoff with 683, his first match. He defeated Andy Marcich from Los Angeles in his second match with 654. Bourdase defeated Lindy Faragelli with 636, and then Eddie Labansky with the highest total rolled thus far, 700. Guenther moves to the left. Bourdase is on the strike. 6 games, total pins. All totals prior to this, the second game of the finals, have been forgotten. The boys are starting from scratch. Guenther, too high, 310, and Johnny has crowded a couple of them here, starting off the second game. He started the first game with 5 in a row. He was short in the 6th, left the bucket. The 2-4-5-8 came right back with a strike, was short again in the 8th, then high in the 9th, high in the 10th, and now high for 2 straight frames. Between the 3 and the 10th. Nice shot. So neither of these 2 youngsters cracking under the strain. They both look like they're very confident, and it should be quite a match. Over the next 2 games here this week and the big 3 next week on championship bowling. Ed Bourdase now with a chance to take the lead. He trailed almost all the way the first game for the double. Here it comes. 8-10. And Bourdase can't believe it. That's the first 8-10, and I think I'm correct, that we have seen here in 25 weeks on the right side. We've had some 8-10s on the left. Pat Patterson had a couple. Jimmy Schroeder had one. He'll take one. And Johnny Guenther now has taken the lead with a conversion of that baby split. It looked like a pretty good hit. You might remember that one. That makes quite a difference. If Bourdase gets this one, instead of 60 in the second frame, he has 28, a difference of 22 pins. There you are. Bourdase kicking that 4-pin out of there. A strike, an 8-10 split, and a strike. What a difference. Johnny Guenther, looking for his first strike, has not had an open frame. Bourdase has had two of them. The 7-9 and the 8-10. They don't come any tougher than those two. That's there. Solid 10. It's hard to believe. In the first game, Guenther started with 5 and Bourdase with 4. Bourdase with 4. Now the boys are having trouble carrying them. That seemed to be just about 15 minutes ago. At the 10-pin, cross lane. Guenther now has gone 6 frames without a strike. Johnny's high 3 games rolled on television in Chicago back in 1958, a 7-10 series. He'll take 7-10 here this week or next week, I'm sure of that, to the tune of $10,000. Guenther in the 4th now has 6 consecutive spares. There we are. That breaks it up. So Johnny decided that 6 spares in a row was enough and bird the 8-10 in the second. Now, what would be on your mind if you just left an 8-10 and came right back on the same lane on a strike as you were in the second frame here in the 4th? Would you want to hit them solid? Would you feel maybe you weren't standing right? 8-10 again, but the 8 went down. And Bourdase says, wait a minute here. He's got to take inventory. Something has happened. Cross lane, 10-pin. There's 4 good hits in a row for Bourdase, and he only has 2 strikes to show, an open frame and a spare. So Ed Bourdase moves to the left. We're almost halfway. Bourdase was the Northern California match game champion twice, finalist in the All-Star Singles in San Bernardino, California in 1961. Same year that he won an ABC team title in Detroit. In the 5th, Bourdase, 2 high, 6-10. Ed's name is kicked around quite frequently, and yours truly is kicking it around pretty good here this week, too. Bourdase, the 6 and the 10. There's the cover. And now the Seattle-Washington youngster has the chance to get the running start. He's on a strike in the 4th. He leads by 11 pins. This strike would boost the margin to 21. He will have a strike in the 5th against Bourdase's spare. And here he comes, but he doesn't get there, leaves the 2-pin. So the boys are within 10 pins of each other. With a game and a half to go this week, the final 3 games next week, $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to the runner-up. A great title to win. The champion of Championship Bowling's television tournament. There's the cover. So at the end of 5 here, we're exactly halfway. Guenther is 77 spare. Bourdase 66 spare. That's better. There we are. Guenther with the strike on the left side. That's 2 in a row over there. As the boys continue to battle lane 28. Bourdase has been in here twice. He left the 8-10 in the second and almost left the 8-10 in the fourth, getting the 8 out of there. Ed gets those fingers in first at an angle, then stretches his hand, puts in his thumb, throws it too high. Wide open, the 6-7. Well, Bourdase, who was in some doubt as to what was happening to his ball, the tendency was naturally to push it up a little, to go for the solid hit. He went too high. 6-10 could be his second open in this, the second game. He had one open frame the first game, but pulled it out to tie his opponent with 231. Guenther now could be well out in front unless Bourdase can turn this in. From the cushion, it doesn't happen, and Bourdase is open in the sixth with 93. Guenther is on a strike in the sixth, and Johnny will have another chance for a big, important double, which will give him some 34 pins. Bourdase moves to the left. There it is. No problem over there. So for Bourdase, the strike is in the seventh, and Guenther comes up in the seventh, working on a very important strike for him. $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to the runner-up. Too high, the 6-pin. So Guenther has missed 2 chances for his double on the right side. It's a life for Bourdase. The Seattle-Washington youngster might have been long gone with a couple of strikes here. The margin is still 24 pins. In the 7th with the cover, he has it. Johnny Guenther started as a pin boy in 1951, attended West Seattle High School. Developed into quite a ball player, played semi-pro ball as an outfielder. His opponent played semi-pro also. He was a pitcher and a semi-pro quarterback. Turned down a college football scholarship to pursue a bowling career. Guenther in the 8th throws, he's got it. So Guenther now will get another chance. That's 3 strikes on the left side as Bourdase moves to the right with his third opportunity for the double. First game, he didn't have too many problems here, but this game, the 8-10 in the second frame on a strike, the 10-pin on a strike in the fourth, almost an 8-10. He pushed one up in the 6th. What will he do in the 8th? That's a big turn. There it is. No mistake. So Ed Bourdase from Fresno, California, closing up the gap, the margin now, back down to 14 pins. We go into the 9th. The first game was a dead heat, both boys with 231. It's the start of the finals. 6 games, total pins. The boys have started from scratch. Guenther and Bourdase, the 2 top qualifiers. The 2 top scorers for 6 games in their 2 appearances throughout the first 24 weeks. In the 9th for the turkey. 10-pin stops him. And Bourdase's ball is losing its drive here in this game. The 8-10 and the 10 and this 10-pin lead, that ball not moving too much at the point of impact. Cross lane, 10-pin. His second 10-pin of the match. And he has the spare. So Bourdase got 10 of them back, but Guenther can get them right back on his side with here his strike in the 9th, looking for his first double. He does not have an open frame. Started the first game with 5. Hasn't had a strike here in a long time. On the Brooklyn. He got away with that one. Yeah. Guenther shaking his head, just a bit disappointed with where he threw the ball, but I'm sure that when he takes a look at that scoreboard, there's no disappointment. He has a very big double, and you might remember that one. He can double in the 10th. It's a 220 game. The first one looks good. 8 pins solid, and Johnny gave it right back. Well, when you steal one, I guess you got to expect something like that, but normally it's the 10 pin, never a solid 8. So there's a break for Bourdase. And a bad one for the youngster from Seattle, Washington at the 8 pin. He got, oh man, did he have that one in there. So Guenther with the count, 206. That'll give him 437. That's a better start than he had a few weeks ago against Andy Marsich. He had 189 and 218. Once more. He carries that one. Well, that 8 pin was the difference between 206 and 226. A 20-pin tap Bourdase with a chance for 202. Bourdase can be just a few pins away. Ed got his strike here in the 8th. And here's another one. There it is. So Bourdase, who lost this lane momentarily, this game, for 3 frames at least, has found it again with strikes in the 8th and his first in the 10th for 192, if he can get this one. 206 for Guenther. 192 for Bourdase. But he needs 2 more strikes to get that. Nice turn. Look at that. Well, those AMF tournament grade pins are really hopping as Bourdase picks up his 2nd double this game. Guenther only had 1 double, but no opens. He converted the very difficult 310 in the 2nd. Bourdase had 2 wide ones, the 6-7 and the 8-10. 192. The margin should be 14 pins with a strike. So Bourdase coming back, cutting down that margin. So in the 2nd game, Guenther 206, Bourdase going all the way for 192. Ready for game number 3, the big one, the first half of the finals on Championship Bowling from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Fred Wolf here at the Major League Bowling Lanes. Don't you go away. Things could happen. Listen. Here are the scores, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the first 2 games. For Ed Bourdase, 231 and 192, his total 423. For Johnny Guenther, 231 and 206, his total 437. The margin, 14 pins. 1 more game to go this week, 3 more next week, the finals of Championship Bowling. Are you ready, you all in Winston-Salem? All right. Johnny Guenther, Seattle, Washington, out in front, the margin, 14 pins. That's not very many. 1 more game to go this week. Guenther throws, looks too high, perfect, in out of there. Well, Guenther got a nice kick on the 4 pin. He starts with a strike. He started the first game with 5 in a row. Bourdase started it with 4. Bourdase has had 3 open frames, all wide open. Guenther hasn't had an open frame. There it is. So we're off and running here in the 3rd and final in the first half of the finals on Championship Bowling from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, here at the Major League Bowling Lanes. One of 22 fine establishments located throughout the southeastern part of the United States.
Bourdase to the left. Gets the ball down to waist level after inserting the fingers, then the thumb, the big lift. It's got to move. 10 pin out of there. So Bourdase with 2, and Guenther has got to match it to hang on to a 14-pin lead. A capacity crowd here this week watching these two West Coast stars for the biggest opportunity of their bowling career, to be a champion of championship bowling. Guenther is there. Look at that ball. Beautiful lift and follow through, and with that semi-roller, as John calls it, that ball reacted beautifully. Solid, no doubt about it. They both have 2. And we have a repetition of the first game going when Guenther went with 5 and Bourdase with 4. $10,000 to the winner. Here's another one. So the youngster from Seattle, Washington, showing no signs of cracking as Ed Bourdase. They call him Pop Bottles. Been wearing glasses ever since he was a 4-year-old youngster. Goes through his usual maneuvers before throwing. There's a good turn. There it is. There it is. Interesting, these two boys playing almost the identical angle on each lane. They're playing 27 more to the outside, little round the second diamond. They're both playing almost identical lines on 28, the right side. The lane that has been such a headache to our field throughout the past many weeks. We're in the 4th, both boys on 3. Bourdase dropped that one. 6 pin. He didn't finish. Ed mumbling to himself. And now Guenther has a chance to get away again. A 6-pin, 1-pin conversion. Edward Henry Bourdase. There's the spare. Johnny Guenther, the Washington State Match Game champion. 4 years. Seattle's Bowler of the Year for 4 years. On 3, too high. Too high. 4, 7, 10. And that just about puts this thing back even. And Guenther now must either decide to play for 2, play it safe, pick up the 2 pins in counts that he might lose if he goes for it and misses all 3. He's taking the 2, hoping for something to happen. Off the cushion, it does not happen, and that is Johnny Guenther's first open frame. Both boys starting with 3. The full count. If Bourdase gets a strike in the 5th, the match will again be even to the pin. That's where it was at the end of the first game. They both had 231. Quite a battle. 3 more games next week. Total pinfall for the 6. 10,000 to the winner. Right back. Guenther made one slight mistake. He just pulled that ball a trifle. John having words with Tom Simon, another member of the Professional Bowlers Association, who is an umpire in the summer season. Hurry up across the 6th pin. So Guenther leads by 1 pin. We're halfway in the 3rd game with this cover, as Bourdase, who started with 3, hit the nose twice, leaving the 6th pin both times. There's the spare. So at the end of 5, Johnny Guenther with the advantage. He is 85 on the strike. Bourdase is 98 on a spare. We're in the sixth frame of the third and final game. The first half of the finals. On the nose again, and another 6-pin. Bourdase actually has got a break or two here. He's hit the nose right in the middle 3 times in succession, kicking the 4 out. The margin is 2 pins. Guenther out in front. There's the spare. So Johnny Guenther, a 160-pounder, moving in on the right side, on a strike. He was wide open here in the 4th. He's probably thinking of that. He doesn't want to be high again. Throws it out. Here it comes. There it is. And he carries. So Johnny got him back. The open frame and then the double. Bourdase was unable to get the double, so Guenther now back to that margin of around 14 or 15 pins, moves left on 2. Seven pin on a pretty good hit. He had him dancing. And Johnny popped his thumb on that one. It doesn't happen every time. Kind of interesting. He must have a very tight thumb hole. Some of the boys prefer the tighter thumb. Puts his fingers in first, the ball in the palm of his hand. His thumb at 12 o'clock, straight up to cover. So Guenther with a spare in the 7th. It's a life for Bourdase, who can still pull this one out. He leads in this game by 3 pins in the 7th frame of the third and final game of the first half of the finals of championship bowling from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Now Bourdase moves left. This strike will put it within 1 pin again. Bourdase, the West Coast match game champion in 1961, a title he won in Salem, Oregon. Drops the ball down to waist level. It's a big one for him in the 8th. He's got to hurry. 10 pin in between. Ed making motions like he was on top of that one. In other words, his thumb got away from him. Moving back, and his fingers turned on top of the ball. Has a tendency to make that ball slide instead of moving into the 1-3 pocket. The 10 pin is covered. So it's still Johnny Guenther out in front. The margin, 11 pins. Guenther is in the 8th on a spare. Both boys started with 3. There it is. So Guenther, who lost that 7-pin shaker in the 7th on 2, on his way again as he moves to the left. Bourdase will finish first. Guenther will know exactly what he needs, whether he can take a lead into next week's 3 games. Johnny Guenther, in the biggest competition of his young career, in the finals on championship bowling, on a strike. Here it comes. He's there. He's got it. So Guenther now beginning to close the door on Ed Bourdase. Bourdase in the 9th. Guenther with a chance for 244, which will give him 881. Correction, 681 within 2 pins of his first appearance. There's a good ball. 10 pin is out. So Bourdase, who left a 10 pin in the 8th on a strike, can look back. Bourdase is still potential 237. If he goes all the way for 237, he can still win this match, these 3 games, the first 3. He can force Guenther to pay attention in the 10th frame with 3 strikes here. There's the first one. Look out. The 5-7. The 5 is out. That could have been worse. It was actually a break for Bourdase, who sailed that one outside. It did not come back. A 7-pin. The cover and count 217. Johnny Guenther will have a lead. How much it will be will depend on what he does in the 10th. He is on a double. I just wonder how many of our viewers here on Championship Bowling week after week have ever tried bowling before. Maybe some of you have never tried it. Don't be afraid of it. It's a lot of fun. Your neighborhood bowling center has bowling balls, shoes. They have competent instructors available. It's a lot of fun. Don't miss out. Bourdase turns and walks away, but he doesn't know the 10-pin is still back there. So Bourdase, who started with 3, then hit the nose 3 consecutive frames, leaving 3 6-pins, unable to pick up a double, settles for 216. His total 639. Johnny Guenther from Seattle, Washington, with a chance to pile up a margin. Chance for 244. The first one is there. And Guenther popped his thumb on that one. There's a triple. He started this game with 3, picked up a double in the 5th and 6th after being wide open in the 4th with the 4-7-10. A 7-pin in the 7th on a shaker, works on 3. This one for 240, which will give him 680. 681 if he goes all the way. He's there. He's there. So Bourdase gave this youngster room, and he took full advantage of it. He already has thrown 9 strikes this game. He had 6 strikes the first game. 5 strikes the second game, a total of 11. And look out, he'll never get there. He only lost 1 pin and count. He gets out beautifully for 243. Johnny Guenther with 243, Ed Bourdase with 216. We'll have a word or two with these 2 fine finalists after a word from our hosts.
Here are the official scores, ladies and gentlemen, in quite a match. Ed Bourdase with 231 in the first game, 192, a 216 finish for a total of 639. For Johnny Guenther, he too started with 231, 206, the big finish, 243, the total 680. Johnny Guenther leading now by 41 pins at the end of the first 3 games. Both these boys will be back again next week. In the strike department, very interesting statistic, both boys with 20 strikes for the 3 games. Did you folks enjoy this one? Don't go away now. We're going to have a word or two with Johnny and Ed and talk a little bit about next week's show in just a moment. Well, let's call the boys out here, both of them. Johnny Guenther, Ed Bourdase. Come on out. John, nice work. Ed, I got to say nice work, too, but you're on the short end.
Well, like you said earlier, I'm glad it's 5 games.
You're glad it's 6 games.
Well, after the first game, 5.
You called that one off. That's right. It would be a 5-game match with 231. Let me ask a question of you, John, and it seems as though in many weeks past the boys have got off to a good start, and then in the second game, suddenly everybody starts working so hard. What causes that?
Well, I think this time, Freddie, for me, I started to rush a little bit, and I pulled every shot here on 28. Every single shot that second game, I was on the nose, I think, every ball.
Of course, you got a habit of getting that 240 game on the end.
It's a good habit.
That's a good habit. It's a lousy habit, isn't it, Ed?
Well, I had a couple on the end, so I think it's pretty good, as long as I get them, too.
As long as you get them, too. Well, you boys have 3 games to go next week. I want you to keep in good shape, get in a lot of practice. We're expecting big things of you. We'd like to see a couple of real big totals. May the best man win. Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Bourdase and Johnny Guenther, good luck. Well, sure hope you can join us. Don't forget next week the final 3 games on championship bowling from the Major League Bowling Lanes here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Johnny Guenther goes with 680, Ed Bourdase with 639, Fred Wolf going with Keep 'em Bowling out there.
Matching shirts and slacks used on championship bowling by King Louie. Championship bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, and we wish to thank AMF for their cooperation in helping us to produce championship bowling.